Hello, this is Defense Deep Dive and I am Sandeep Unnithan. The Defense Procurement Board has just cleared the proposal for 114 Rafale jets this month. India could sign the mother of all defense deals for 114 Rafale fighter jets worth $35 billion. That's over 3 lakh crore, or nearly half India's annual defense budget. It's India's biggest defense deal ever. But isn't India already building its own fighter jets like the LCA Tejas? And why does it need such a big deal? Let's dive in. The Indian Air Force is presently at its lowest strength of fighter jets in over 60 years. It has just 29 fighter squadrons as opposed to a sanctioned 42 fighter squadrons. That's a shortfall of 13 squadrons, or nearly 1/3 its strength. That's a lot of missing aircraft. Of course, we can argue that these numbers were projected in the 1960s for light combat aircraft like the MiG-21s, whereas today's heavy fighters like the Su-30 MKI are far more capable. In fact, 2 Su-30 MKIs can carry as much bombs as an entire squadron of older MiG-21s. But quantity has a quality of its own, and this is where the numbers game kicks in. The Indian Air Force is buying 230 light combat aircraft, or LCA Tejas. 40 Mark 1 have already been delivered and 180 Mark 1As are yet to be delivered. Now, these orders are running late for various reasons. Delays by the producer Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, delayed deliveries of GE jet engines from the US, which means the IAF still hasn't been able to replace the dozens of MiG-21s which it retired. In fact, the last MiG-21 squadron flew out just last year. Now, the IAF had projected 126 imported fighter jets way back in 1999 after the Kargil War. That's nearly 3 decades ago. This became the global contest for 126 fighter jets in 2007, the MMRCA fighter jet contest. Now, France finished as the finalist of this contest with the Rafale in around 2012. In 2016, India scrapped the MMRCA program and brought just 36 Rafales off the shelf for 7.8 billion euros. Now, India hoped that the remaining 90 aircraft would be procured locally, the LCA Tejas, for instance. But that didn't happen, and over the last decade, the Air Force has retired more aircraft than it has added. Now, with the last MiG-21s flying out, it's down to 29 squadrons, of course. Now, the IAF's threat environment has multiplied since then. Now, even until the 1990s, the People's Liberation Air Force was not a force to reckon with. The IAF therefore faced only the Pakistan Air Force as its primary adversary. But over the last 2 decades, the PLAF has launched one of the biggest aircraft production programs in history. It is the only air force, apart from the US, to field 2 5th-generation fighter jets. It has prototypes of 2 6th-generation fighter aircraft as well. Now, it has built a network of 16 air bases on the Tibetan plateau, which means that the PLAF today is already at India's doorstep. The PLAF could have over 1,000 5th-generation fighter aircraft before the end of this decade. And on the Western Front, the Pakistan Air Force has 20 fighter squadrons, but it could soon be getting J-35 stealth jets from China. It recently got the Trump administration to sanction a $680 million upgrade of its existing fleet of F-16 fighter jets. So, looking at all of this, the Air Force revived its MMRCA requirement a few years back. They called it the Multi-Role Fighter Aircraft Program, the MRFA. Now, 18 squadrons of Rafales will be delivered in flyaway condition from France within a few months of the signing of the contract, and the remaining 90-odd aircraft will be assembled in India through a strategic partnership between Dassault and Tata Advanced Systems Limited. Now, this production line will create a second ecosystem for making fighter jets outside of state manufacturer HAL. But what are the source codes that India wants France to share with on this deal? Now, source codes are the lines of code that run an aircraft mission computer. The mission computer is the brain of the plane. It manages critical systems like avionics, weapons controls, and flight dynamics, integrating various subsystems to enable seamless operations of the fighter jet. Now, nations are highly reluctant to share these computer codes, primarily due to national security concerns. But for India, this is vital, as India would want to integrate various Indian-made weapons on the Rafale: the BrahMos NG, the Astra beyond visual range missile, and the Rudram air-to-ground missile. Now, India would, of course, be reluctant to reveal the capabilities of these weapons to a foreign OEM, which would be the result of integrating it onto an aircraft where you don't have the source codes. Now, France has refused to hand over the source codes for now. A compromise will, of course, have to be worked out to keep both India and France happy. Because hanging on this deal is a collaboration for advanced fighter jet engines, which French jet maker Safran will develop with India to power India's fifth generation fighter aircraft program like the AMCA, the AMCA. It's a $7 billion deal for a 140 kilonewton engine where the IP will reside within India, which means that this is an Indian-owned engine. And this is one more reason why India will want to sign both the engine and the fighter jet deal with France. It's a two-in-one deal. France has been a tried and tested partner for the Indian military for decades. It's never imposed sanctions or embargoes on defense hardware like the United States or other Western countries have in the past. Now, that counts for a lot at a time when India and other European countries are facing pressure from a mercurial American president, Donald Trump. In fact, the Rafale could signify India's pivot to Europe at a time of global great power competition. The mother of all defense deals could mother many other defense deals between India and France in these turbulent times.